Welcome to the Brewtiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
And we are back. The World Cups have ended. Festive fixtures have gone on. There's so much controversy around U.S. soccer. There's so much that's happened in just a couple of weeks since we all could get together and chat. So tonight we're going to go over a little Premier League update, or today morning, whenever you listen to us, as our fixtures are coming quick and fast. And then we're going to go over some footy headlines and the world news of soccer, which, you know, the soap opera continues in the U.S. And then, of course, the moment that we have been waiting for the whole year, Clark.
The
return of, what is it, Ferris?
What the what? It's the FA Cup.
Yes.
Numero 4.
Yes.
That's right, where we play a terrible, what's the word
Made-up
for game show with Ferris, as we do our best to try and get us locked in to knowing who some of these clubs we don't always know who are playing in the FA Cup and what leagues they're in. So we'll get to there in a little bit.
Our fourth edition of it.
Fourth edition. We've been doing this for a while. It took us 2 years to think of that. So yeah. Well, first though, gents, it's the beer. It is the Brewtiful Game. So let's talk our beer before we get to the footy.
All right, I guess we'll go first. Ron and his wife and pup were up in Canada and brought back some Canadian beers, of course.
I had a feeling.
Yep. And Becky's brother, who we've mentioned before on the pod, and we did the bachelor party with in Chicago about this time last year. I was probably a little bit later when we go in March, something like that. Eric, who's a Man City fan.
Putts.
Putts. Gave us a beer that from a brewery that we went to while we were up there at one of the first nights. And if you remember, a brewery called North Winds Brewery. It was the one in the ski lodge there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's called the Lifty Alt Beer. And an alt beer is many of you probably know, is a German style beer. It is mainly brewed from recipes from the Rhineland, around the city of Dusseldorf, and it slick can art. Ron, how would you describe? I don't like graphic.
It's almost
art.
Comic booky.
Yeah, but
but more like a independent graphic novel. If you will.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I could not. Yeah,
With essentially the lift operator for a ski lift, enticing you to have a seat on the.
He's wearing a little beanie, his gloves, his blue coat with a lift coming through, and he's hanging on to it. He doesn't have his tongue to it. Like, what's the Ralphie?
Yeah.
From Christmas Story.
Yep, it's a 4.8% alt beer, which usually alt beers are in that range, anywhere from 4 to no more 6. Malt forward with roasted notes and slight bitterness. So thank you, Eric. Go United. And for I don't know if we've been over Northwinds before. I don't think we've ever had a Northwinds beer on here, despite us going to the brewery. It was founded in 2013. Northwinds Brewery mashes through an all-season outdoor lifestyle with inventive beers, small batch of brewing done with consistency and refinement to deliver the freshest handcraft ales and lagers. Enjoy one today.
Don't mind if we do.
Absolutely.
Boom. Well, I find the holiday ales are the gift that keep on giving way past old Christmas is over. Because my beer, as you know, I'm very fond of Christmas beers and holiday ales. So it is still packed with them. Ron got in when he stopped by here a couple weeks ago, was in too late to help me clear out part of this fridge before he drove on to Canada the next day. So part of my plans of emptying this fridge were a little foiled. So I'm sticking with Christmas, and I'm going to do this winter spiced ale from Highland Brewery. This is a Cold Mountain beer, and I have a feeling I'll be having me a second beer, just so you're aware, prior to the FA Cup game. I may need some more liquid courage because I'm trying to burn through this holiday beer.
You serious,
but I'm very serious. The Cold Mountain says tap into the holidays with notes of vanilla, hazelnut, dark fruit, and cinnamon. 96, this is Highland Brewing out of Asheville, which now, of course, is blown up with craft beer. But they brewed their Cold Mountain as a holiday treat, and 26 years later, the brew is cherished tradition in Asheville and our surrounding region. These, kind of like the pumpkin ales from Dogfish, go fast around these parts, I found out. People at work were like, "Oh, you already grabbed a 6-pack? I didn't think it was a big deal because they were a ton there. They literally were gone.
Oh, wow.
Damn, the next day, yeah. So, and this one is a 5.9%, not a crazy one, but Cold Mountain.
Ooh,
Cool, man.
let's crack them.
I'm going to use my south of the border bottle opener as I've been slowly
Chili
opening
today,
boxes.
hot tamale.
That's right. Getting all my stuff moved into my office finally as my wife's voiceover studio has moved out, and I'm slowly piecing this thing together. I keep finding fun trinkets and an amazing amount of south of the border swag for you guys.
Well, it's true. You never sausage a place.
Nope. You're always a wiener at Pedro's. If you don't drive up and down 95 past South Carolina, North Carolina, this means nothing to you.
Yeah.
But if you do,
You should totally schedule a trip. You'll see the billboards like Buc-ee's for 100,000
exactly.
miles.
which is funny when I drive on the road now because my daughter's like, "It's the beaver. Let's stop."
Yeah.
That's
As
funny.
Every time she sees the sign. We're getting a giant one near us about to open.
Oh, really?
But it doesn't have the charm of south of the border, though, baby.
It's true.
It's a charm. That's one way of putting it. All
Mine
right.
is very ruby red. It's kind of cool looking.
Happy
Cheers,
New Year,
gentlemen.
gents.
Happy New Year.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oof. Tasty.
That's good.
I haven't had an alt beer in a while. That is
I have
good.
been loving the holiday beers this year, but I swear I'm on a good streak. The new Belgian one is great. I've had Cold Mountain before, but it's a little different every year. You know, different release. Good grief, this is fantastic. It's not all those flavors, but they're not overpowering, not too sweet.
Eric, thanks, man.
Yeah, this is quite a good.
Glory, glory, Man United, by the way.
Gross. This is
Everything
quite a good.
that we had at your wedding at that brewery was awesome.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
just a stellar brewery.
Yep.
And it's rare that. Well, for me, it's rare to go into a brewery and like almost everything they have.
Yeah.
I mean, any brewery that produces a sour is not going to have me be a complete
True. And then,
believer.
what was that Irish bar that we went into where the bartender had one of the best lines ever? Some Irish
that
bar
guy
in a little
she
ski
kicked
town.
out of there. Oh God, what did she say? I don't remember. But
It was a guy in there? And then the bartender.
Whatever you're into, bro.
Whatever you're into, mate.
yeah. Oh my God, so good, so good. Well, gents, I guess we should roll into the Premier League. But wait, I've got Christmas beer, which means it's still Christmas time. And there's a gift that showed up at Ron's house that's now behind you two.
Oh.
But I don't want you to feel weird because Christmas is over. Let me get you in the mood. Dun, 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 dun. Jingle bells, Tottenham smells, hammers go away. United yuck, Liverpool suck, Arsenal all the way. Dun, 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 dun.
That's awesome.
You know what?
Merry Christmas.
I really hope I hear that when I go to the Emirates and not the most lame chant I've ever heard. Arsenal. Creative, guys.
I'm just happy he didn't rag on Chelsea.
Yeah, or true.
I was like, it's a shame that didn't sneak its way in there. I felt bad picking on Chelsea.
Thanks.
You never felt bad about picking on United.
That's
Screw
not
you.
true at all. That's
Hey, you're
not
still
true
like
at
fourth
all.
right now.
You might have. He did.
Both of us got to the
No,
point where we were like, dude, we're just sorry.
Oh, yeah,
this is not
We-
fun.
It did hit a like, this is not fun anymore.
Yeah, it does
gents,
get to that point.
Yeah.
I'm,
I'm getting
I'm-
close.
This missed Ron right before he left on his trip to Canada. So it didn't get on the pod I wanted it to. So whatever. It's old Christmas. It's the 12 days later. The wise men
for
have
it.
dropped off a gift.
But you snag that side over there. I'll snag this side. It's in a box, like a sign or a portrait.
It's got like topographical map markings on it.
Topographical.
This is tough to do.
I think it's upside down. Hold on, wait.
Yeah, it's a little tough to do. It's a little tough to do.
The box is so
as
big.
I've seen it.
All right, so then
I'm
now we
hoping
should be able to
it,
swing it open from here.
I'm hoping that this will illuminate and make a.
Wait. Actually, hold on. It was the correct way up the
Oh, you-
first time because now that I've seen it, the box on the inside. was
You
up.
putz.
Yeah.
Give that a close.
So to be fair, the box
Hold on.
had lettering that made it look upside down. Ron, for those of you listening at home, has now hopped off his headphones and is trying his damnedest to get this sign on. Here we go, Ferris. Let's see if Ron can get his headphones back.
There's two. One's blue and one's red. I'm going to guess the blue one's going to go to Ron, and the red one probably goes. They're like aluminum signs, right? If you will.
It feels like that.
Yep, or that's what I think it is. They're covered with the box.
You do yours first.
All right. If I had a nickel, here we go. That's wicked. That is cool. It's like a
oh, sweet.
Like a Google map, if you will, bird's eye view of the roadways of what I am presuming is Manchester, and hopefully I will be there in a few weeks' time, with a star into a soccer ball where I would presume Old Trafford is, and it says Manchester United, the Red Devils, 1878.
And essentially a blue sign that is the same as, same top map of Chelsea, the Blues, 1905, with a star and soccer ball where Stamford Bridge is. That's so cool.
That's awesome, man.
And those are cool. The pieces should be maybe in the packaging there, but it's they are metal, or it might even be on the back there, but this hangs up magnetically. So you put like the magnet strip
right
up.
there.
It's really small.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then it connects. They're pretty rad. Which also means if you want more of them and you want to change out your look, you can just change out your look.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Merry Christmas, dude.
What a great
I saw
gift.
those and they just felt that. I was like, oh, those are good. I was like, I know Ron's will go up in the studio, and I thought, I wonder if Ferris will go, well, I should put this one up in the studio too. And then I thought, I wonder if Ron would allow that.
Well, we kind of have what we set up here in the studio is a shelving system behind the camera that we see Blake on. And on my left side, there's like small shelves for either side. So when I sit on the left side of the desk, there's a small shelf, and I've kind of taken a lot of United memorabilia and put it up there. I've had the little doll of Robin Van Persie, little doll of Zlatan, a signed Ander Herrera hat. When
Speaking
I saw
of-
them play against Real Madrid, I have the program and the pass. And so I kind of had that left side kind of going here. Oh, it is.
I found
it.
this when I was unpacking the framed picture you made of Zlatan and Man United doing like the jumping flying sidekick.
Brilliant.
Yeah, with Juan Mata in the background.
And then in the center we have Orlando City stuff. So we'll find room for both. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll definitely hang both.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. You should look up that site. I'm forgetting the name. Display. Yeah. They make really cool stuff.
Those are super cool.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Of course, man. Yeah. All right. From Christmas, as my daughter says, on over to the footy, specifically the Premier League. If you didn't know by now, it's back. And I mean, even though we just ended the World Cup, because of the festive fixtures, I feel like we've just run through 4 weeks worth of match days. Like
it feels like it.
Slapped in together. Premier League, of course, became the first of the Big 5 leagues to return to action with their infamous Boxing Day and festive fixtures. Thus far, 3 matches have been played.
In the league, that is. There's been Caribou Cup and FA Cup games that have also played.
Yes, there's been a lot that's gone on. So between those 3 matches, and then after World Cup, and as you said, for the EFL as well as for the FA, it's a packed season, and this is, I feel like, where you're going to start seeing some injuries. Well, we'll get to the Blues in a little while, but that actually did occur. So as we sit right now, Arsenal still in first, now 5 points ahead of Man City, who are second with 39 points, while Newcastle United remain third. And to round off the top 4, it's Man United, who have steadily moved right up to that spot, as they are tied on points with Newcastle and 2 points ahead of Tottenham. But they do have a game in hand on both clubs. So there you go. Here's how we've all gotten here. I like how you phrase that. Arsenal have won 2 and drawn 1 since back. They've defeated West Ham and Brighton. and then drew to Newcastle 0-0 last week. Their next two matches consist of the North London Derby away to Tottenham, and then they welcome Manchester United to the Emirates. And I feel like Chelsea's also right around the corner from there, not too long. Man City, they have also won 2 and drawn 1. Pep's squad has defeated Leeds and Chelsea and drew at home to Everton a few weeks back. Their next two matches consist of the Manchester Derby at Old Trafford on Saturday and then home to Tottenham midweek. Newcastle United have drawn 2 and won 1. On Boxing Day, they beat Leicester 3-0 and then drew back-to-back games against both Leeds and Arsenal. Newcastle's next 2 fixtures in the league include a pair of London clubs in Fulham and Crystal Palace. Finally, rounding out the top 4, Manchester United have won all 3 since the break. They defeated Nottingham Forest, Wolves, and Bournemouth. The next 2 matches in the league include the aforementioned Manchester Derby on Saturday and then Crystal Palace midweek. Thoughts, opinions on the current top 4, gents?
It's packed. You're going to see movement in these, right? I mean, Tottenham's 2 points away. Liverpool are they're in 6th on 28 points. There's Arsenal, City, United, Liverpool have all played 1 less game than that of Tottenham and Newcastle, and even Fulham, who are up there in 7th. And you're going to see some movement here, right? For instance, you've seen some games that are a bit odd, right? City drawing to Everton at home, bit odd when you consider where Everton's at and what they've kind of done this year so far. Bit odd. It was a wonderful goal by Damari Gray, bit odd. Arsenal Newcastle playing a 0-0 draw. That's not so much of an outlier. Both teams have played very, very well. Newcastle has the best defensive record in the league. That was a hard fought game. That was
that's
a
one
lot
of those
cards, tackles, just
a fun
kind of
0-0 match. Yeah,
kind of an old schoolish type English game in that respect. Their game against Brighton, Arsenal were all over them, put 4 past. But what you'll say is, look what then Brighton did in the FA Cup against, I believe, Middlesbrough, and what Alex McAllister back from the World Cup wasn't in that side against Arsenal. And look how much Brighton tore apart them and how much he had an impact. So as teams start to kind of now really get going and players come back from the World Cup, and there hasn't really been anybody that's missed significant time besides probably Alex McAllister, but he won the FA Cup, right? Or he won the World Cup with Argentina. He was just going to be out and partying. Everybody's going to kind of be back for these clubs. You're going to see what kind of shape they're in. You're going to see if they're going to be more injury prone. You're going to see if we're going to see injuries more so. We'll get to that when we talk Chelsea a bit. It's going to be a very interesting month because in this month alone, yes, there's an international break that's coming up, but you got to think, made up time on the front end of that international break because of the World Cup, make up time on the back end. And then, oh, by the way, in early February, introduces Europe back in. So Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League, all of those things start to come back in. So very interesting time.
And there's FIFA going, I think we should always keep it at Christmas. Yeah. We had great ratings.
Yeah, it's crazy. The amount of fixtures headed this way is just insane. And then, like we were saying, injury. There's a lot going on around the world for injury. But I think Ferris is right. You're going to see a lot of movement. Specifically, I think 3rd through 10th, there's going to be a lot of shuffling. And then in that, like 13, 14, 15 area, where so many teams are tied for that lower portion of the table, but they're not in the relegation zone yet.
Yeah, that 3rd through 10th. I mean, you're talking about 35 points to 25. It's tight up there.
Yeah, and so many teams are tied, right, on points, or at least very close. Newcastle, Man United tied on points. Tottenham's only 2 behind that, but Liverpool, Fulham, and Brighton, they're all tied at 28, except for Brighton, who's at 27. Brentford 26, Chelsea 25. There's so much.
Well, then you go to 2 teams tied at 22, 3 teams tied at 17. Yeah, it's and we for most teams, most teams have gotten to halfway through the season as 18 games have been played. The official halfway mark. A lot's going to be told now with the second half as you start to see that kind of top 4, top 6 break away from the pack. The bottom half start to kind of jockey for points, and you might see some pull away there as well. It's going to be interesting to see also what the January transfer window does, right?
Ooh, boy, do I know that.
Already some moves.
That's always one of those things that's tough because I think like every year there's a lot of lot put onto the January transfer window, but it so frequently just kind of pops and fizzles. Even though a player may come in that's great and they might be the man for the team the following year and stuff, it just never, there's always like this hope and dream of, oh man, from nothing to Europe or from, 5th or 6th to first place. And that just doesn't.
Rare.
I know there's that hope and desire with the January. Also, the prices are so inflated, especially coming out of the World Cup. You've already seen some interesting moves happening just out of people going, I'm not paying that, man. And backing off.
And to that point, usually you get the World Cup boost of, oh, that player shined in the World Cup but is playing for a league that he hasn't done anything in forever. That you usually get that in September. Interesting that you're getting that in the middle of the year now.
Yeah.
With where you can inflate those costs much more so. Who is it playing at Sporting? Enzo for Fernandez that 100 million for
to trigger his release clause.
Correct.
Yeah, and Chelsea was essentially saying we're not going to pay that, but we're going to try and bargain you down in other ways.
And how many people really had their eye on him or on the forefront of a transfer talk prior to the World Cup? You didn't.
No, yeah, nobody.
Unless you're big into the game and big into those specifics. What's the one for United right now?
Oh, yeah, you just signed somebody.
Weghorst on loan. He was the Dutch striker that was subbed in and scored 2 goals against, I think it was 2 goals, or at least set up the second one against Argentina to send that game into the wild antics that it was. You know where he's currently playing? Thinking like Besiktas or someplace, who he's on loan to from Burnley. He's currently playing for a championship club, and United are considering bringing him in as number 9. Kind of weird, especially with what United has done. 7 games on the bounce, very good record, slow climb, still trying to build. But there's certain things that Ten Hag's looking for in that number 9. Look what he did with Sebastian Haller all last year with Ajax, a seemingly forgotten man who played in the Premier League and these type of things, and did very, very well for them. So with stats like he presses more than anybody in the top flights leagues, between the not top flight leagues, but in terms of the championship and the Premier League, his press rate and those type of things, who knows? But it's that kind of that silly season at a very odd time of, well, they performed well in the World Cup. Now do we go after them?
And also, I think there is a desire from a lot of owners or ownership groups looking at other clubs being like, hey, stop inflating the prices for everything so wildly. Like, you're going to make this disastrous for everybody. Like that Fernandez with the clause that they're really trying to open up. Now, Ron, unless you have something to throw on top of that, I would, because we're talking about transfers, and the next question you brought up was, what do you think of the situations going on in Liverpool and Chelsea? I think this comes into it. You guys just snagged someone that Arsenal was after.
Yeah, and United.
Felix. Yeah. Arsenal and United were after. Oh gosh, why am I forgetting his first name?
Joao Felix.
Joao Felix. And so you see what you usually see on a transfer window. United and Arsenal fans going, we better get him. We better get him. We better get him. It'll, yada, yada, yada. We're going to get him. Then the prices on the transfer and the deal starts to go up. Chelsea gets him. And I've never seen, usually United or Arsenal fans are like, what the hell? Open up the purse strings. Get us who we want. And instead, everyone's been like, you know what? Nah, that's okay. That's expensive for a guy who's only scored 8 goals this year. And and is having trouble at his current club where he's fallen out of favor, gets booed out by the fans. And now Chelsea's got another striker.
He's
with Aubameyang.
He's classified mainly as a center forward. So a mix between a number 9 and a number 10. But don't you already have that with Havertz? Don't you already have that a bit with Mount? I mean, Mount's a little bit more creative, but at least with Havertz kind of plays that false 9 because he's not a number 9.
Yeah, Havertz. I think he's more akin to Havertz than he is to Mount. Mount more kind of that attacking mid off to the side kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Enzo Fernandez was being talked about, you guys, and you guys might have to pay a lot for him, but I think with the state of the midfield currently, at Stamford Bridge with Conte, whenever he potentially, kind of the forgotten man, who knows when the hell he'll even come back.
Currently
says March, but who knows? And he can be on his way out the door. Kovacic, Jorginho, and then an influx of Mount.
End of contract of Jorginho's
Zachariah or whatever his name is.
End of contract. The end of this year.
So I would think a midfield would be more up opposed to another number 9 or a kind of a like for like in terms of what Havertz is.
Yeah, it's interesting that we snagged him this season. Chelsea have snagged Wesley Fofana, who's a center back, Mark Cucurella, who is a left back, Raheem Sterling, a left wing, Badashile, a center back, Koulibaly, a center back. We've been very defensive heavy, yet we've given up so many goals. We have Chukwuemeka, it's so hard to pronounce his name, Chukwuemeka, who is a center midfield, Andre Santos, center midfield. And then, of course, we brought in as a center forward, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who, shocker, has not produced.
Yeah.
The best move Arteta ever did against Chelsea was to release Aubameyang.
Yeah. Then we've nailed down for 12 million David Datro Fofana, who's a center forward.
He came on the other day in the FA Cup game.
Yeah, from Molde in Norway.
So we got 3 center forwards now?
Yeah.
So, yes.
A lot of injuries, though. A lot of injuries.
But we don't, to be honest, I think Aubameyang is not fit for the Premier League. There's just something that he cannot attach to. He's had more than enough chances.
He did for a bit, but yeah, what?
He had a golden boot year.
3.
Yeah.
3 goals for Chelsea. That's it. So
I don't think any of them have been in the one or two maybe have been in the
But could you think about that? Like, he came in, he did get a tied golden boot with Salah. Then he gets, booted out of Arsenal, then goes to Barcelona, is killing it, and then benched for Lewandowski. And now he's come to Chelsea, where he was subbed on and then subbed off in the same match.
Yeah.
That was the FA Cup match, right?
Yeah.
So,
I guess with the Felix thing, what I mean is you got another center forward, but some of these signings don't come across to me like Potter is part of these conversations.
I don't know. Everyone says that all the news coming out of Cobham, which is, where the main office is, everyone says there's a plan, and, they're all but saying trust the process. The problem is that we don't really see what the process is. We see the steady decline of Chelsea since Potter took over. And I think it's fair to say that it's gotten worse since Potter's taken over, but it may not be exclusive. Excuse me. It may not be exclusively Potter's fault. But then we see these transfer signings that are almost panic signings. And I can't understand how the pieces are supposed to be being put together.
Do you know what a lot of that sounds like? what United just went through in the past number of years.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
You know, get the hot coach at the time, and who was the hot coach at the time that United got after David Moyes? Van Gaal, who just got done at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Potter, kind of the hot name in English football, obviously not the World Cup, and bring him in. New ownership, different than what United kind of went through, but some of these panic buys, some of these big money moves that you're like, I don't.
Is
that
this
going
actually
to fit?
value? I don't.
Right. Are you getting value for something? You might be getting value. You might be getting good players, but how are they going to fit in? And a majority of the players were brought in prior to Potter. So now he's kind of having to jigsaw puzzle piece his way into putting them into the system that I can only assume he's going to try to do what they did at Brighton in kind of that very tactical pressing of the ball style. But
I don't even see a glimpse of that in our play, right? Like, it would make sense if we saw that and could say, well, that's the Potter style of ball, and this is what they're trying. It's just not working out yet. We don't even see that.
Well, I mean, we didn't see that I did for years, you know, so very similar type footprint. I don't think it's all Potter's fault. I think he's kind of thrust into a very tough situation there.
Sure.
Guys haven't won a game in the match since October, is it, or something?
Yeah. We've only scored 20 goals in 17 matches.
Look, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm a big fan of trust the process. Let me make that clear. And prior to Arsenal, I've never been a fan in professional, whether it's American football or, you know, we're talking about European soccer. I'm not a fan of the quick gut reaction that you see happening to coaches left and right. You got to give time to it. But, like, I guess I don't understand why you'd give time to Potter and not time to Tuchel. Unless there's just something in the background that we don't know about that didn't go down well. But, like,
Tuchel was given time, though. And he won, 3 trophies in 16 months there or something?
Yeah, but that also was not under the new ownership.
True.
So
and that does change things. That's a variable that absolutely changes things.
Yeah. So Potter actually didn't have very long at all under the new ownership.
Abramovich said, I'm sorry, the Russian yacht I promised you I cannot give.
Yeah.
And Tuchel's like, what the hell is this?
So allegedly, when the new ownership of Todd Bowley and Clear Lake sat down with Tuchel and they had their discussions of the future of the club, they did not agree on the future direction, and therefore they sacked him off the loss in the Champions League.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So stating essentially irreconcilable differences.
But it does come across like what Fair said to me, where you see these guys like, you know, this Potter guy, like he's been doing stuff. He's cheaper than this dude's going to be. Just get this guy in. Like, I'm sure that's not the case, but it just feels that way from the outside, like looking in, that it's just.
Well, and Brighton is quite a big, or Chelsea is quite a big step up from Brighton. It's like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going from a top division Norway squad to Manchester United. You know, at least Ole knew Man United, had played there. It's considered a legend there. Potter doesn't really, in theory, know a lot about what Chelsea is about besides what he just kind of has seen on TV, what he's played against.
Also, Brighton still punching above their weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
without him.
Exactly. So
the dilemma that I have is kind of, you just kind of have to trust the process, for lack of a better term, stealing it from Arsenal and the Philadelphia 76ers, right?
But you can't even say that if you don't know what the process is.
So as a fan, no, you don't have anything. And that's, I think, where the frustration is. But when you look at from a front office standpoint, they basically lifted 7/10 of the Brighton staff and recruiting department. They signed a new director of football that looks over the youth academy. They brought, I can't remember where they brought him in from. It's failing me, but they have done so much front office work that you kind of have to think that better changes are coming. And so on one side of me, I'm like, better things are coming. But then on the other side of me, I see the actions as a result of the staff that they have now brought in from the front office. And I see all these seemingly panic transfers and the square pegs and the round holes that we have. And it's hard to trust that these guys are doing anything that's coherent. Right now, it looks like they're kind of splashing the cash a bit, and they're not making sensible signings. I think, personally, if you want Mason Mount to start scoring, Havertz, Ziyech, and Pulisic, you want them to start scoring, get an honest striker.
Well, but even then, Pulisic just got added to the list of
Yes. So we currently have 10 injuries, and when I read out these 10 injuries, you're going to say, that's your entire first team.
It's a lot of starters, yeah.
Right. N'Golo Kante, who arguably the best midfielder on the planet, maybe not at the moment because he hasn't played in a while. Reece James, who when he does
absolute starter.
Play, he
game changer.
Changes the face of the team.
Him and probably the next name that you're going to read.
Wesley Fofana?
No.
Ben Chilwell.
Ben Chilwell, yeah. Those two are bigger than almost the Kante move.
Yeah. So Wesley Fofana, who was our defensive signing.
English signing, yeah.
Who played 2 matches and out injured with maybe an end of January return. Ben Chilwell. Excuse me, gentlemen. Sorry. Ben Chilwell, who you just mentioned, who doesn't have a return date. Armando Broja, who is from the Chelsea Academy. Mm-hmm. And while he did have a spark,
a little bit,
I don't really see what the hype is about.
He was on loan to Southampton last year,
and why everybody thinks he's
I'm kind of there with you,
best striker. He got a couple of clumsy goals in there and one really sweet one. But other than that, the movement off the ball hasn't been that great, and the creativity hasn't been that well. Yeah. So he doesn't have a return date. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who I'm not his biggest fan, but we are missing him.
Yeah, especially in that midfield there, yeah.
Raheem Sterling out with a thigh injury. Christian Pulisic out with a knee injury. Mendy, the goalkeeper, out with a hand injury. And then now Aubameyang with a lower back injury.
That's at least 4 starters. You figure Ben Chilwell always gets in there. Reece James always gets in there. Kind of won't even say Kante at the moment. Raheem Sterling always gets in there.
Yeah.
And Mendy probably starts over Kepa or Balaga. So that's at least 4. And you could probably, Conte's fit, you probably say he's a starter. Loftus-Cheek was starting there for a bit too. That's I know Liverpool's been through some injuries. Arsenal have been through some injuries in the past, not necessarily in the last few years. But that's one of the worst injury lists that I've heard in a while in terms of 4 to 5 starters. That's half of a team that you field every,
So does
game.
That buy Potter time? Do people, they go, oh, well, it's an untenable situation. Like, and I mean, I guess like really telling.
He's been in the job for 3 months. Of course, it has to buy him at least to the end of the year, right?
I mean, you say that, but it's the Premier League, and it's these owners, man. We don't understand this ownership that's coming at all. I mean, because to your point, while there were some struggles and things going on, and maybe Tuchel and them didn't see eye to eye, that's still a lot of trophies that a dude gets you in a league and in Europe where these things are hard to get. So I mean, I guess what would be the most telling is to see how they treat their summer signings this year to see if they make more sense. But, to me, the transfer conversation is the one that doesn't make me trust the process, because
Right.
every other team I've seen going after people right now, you're like, whether they get them or don't, you see what they're going for. And I'm not sure with what Chelsea's trying to do, or they're like, so many people are injured, it doesn't matter. I don't know. It's very odd. Also, Ron, you said, like you said, there's two ways to look at it too. All that change they did, getting rid of the youth and all that stuff, youth directors, and all that. On one hand, you're like, well, they're coming in and cleaning house and making a big swing for the fences. The other side of that coin is destroying a culture that's there and upending everything. And I don't know what that answer is.
Completely changing that, yeah.
Well, also they didn't have much choice, because half the staff split and saw the writing on the wall. And when Abramovich, was essentially forced to sell the team, people were, okay, we're out too. So for some of it, they didn't really have a choice.
New owners of any business, for the most part, bring in their own staff. Or bring in their own folks. Same with a manager in that way. When a new manager comes in, they usually bring in their people that they trust and they know, and that help them run the system or the thought process that they want to run on the team.
Sure, but they could have also given themselves a little bit of time.
Oh,
right. Instead of it being such a hard turn off the light kind of cut,
sure,
they could have kind of just limped along and replaced people, once they got a grip. But here,
also, again, to loop to our pod, when this happened, did you have to snag Potter when you did?
Yeah, I don't know.
Fair.
Like,
all I can tell you is that the actions make me distrust what the front office staff is doing. And it's the fans are also doing the same thing. They're singing to Potter at the Manchester City game this past Sunday. They were singing Abramovich would have fired you by now to Potter,
rough,
right? Which does not help at all. And then you have people like Pep Guardiola who are saying,
give him time.
Give Potter time.
It's been 3 months, and honestly, it's been more like a month and a half, because we had this thing called the World Cup.
Right.
So you know what the other side of that would be? If I were Potter, I don't know if I'd want to give it time. The thing I hate about this is I feel like he could have come out a hero staying Brighton's coach this year. And look, I know Chelsea's got money. You got to do what you got to do. But I feel like this is going to hurt his stock.
It could.
That's kind of what I said when we talked about this.
You did.
I said, why
you
are
did.
you leaving? You're going to a dumpster fire from something you've built a really good rep on. The team is doing well. Why are you leaving now to go to this horrendous dumpster fire that will be Chelsea for a while? I just didn't understand that. And now he's neck deep in it, so he's not going anywhere.
When we go back to transfers and we go over to say another team in the area, in Liverpool, real quick, they brought in Gakpo, right? The very young Dutch striker that lit the World Cup up for that side. Good signing, looks to be a good player, played well in their FA Cup game against Wolves, was his first appearance. A bit of injuries there as well, but is that what they need? Wouldn't somebody like a midfielder to replace the tired legs of Jordan Henderson, not the tired legs, but the slightly older legs of Henderson, of Thiago, of Fabinho, of, I don't know, the back line, opposed to bringing in another, Diaz type, another Firmino type, another, who was the other lad they brought in? Jota type, that is going to kind of play those areas. It's like they're trying to find a replacement for what Mane was, but is that what they should be doing, opposed to finding different placements? They're not panic buying necessarily. They kind of did there towards the end of summer when they brought in Arthur, who hasn't played more than probably 10 minutes. I don't know what the actual stat is, but two teams that were, 2 and 3 in the table last year, right? Liverpool and Chelsea, are now down in 6th and 10th, and have had dumpster fires of years thus far. A lot can change, but you can see how fast things change in this league.
Yep.
You got to keep. I say you got to keep collecting those players. I'd say Liverpool has been doing that. There is here's what I'll say between Liverpool and Chelsea. Liverpool has been getting people. I know you just said like you got him. He did do well though, but they could use some help in the back line. A couple of right choices, and Liverpool could have a slump and then go right back up. Like there is a method to the madness that I think is what Ron is saying. You're not seeing in
Correct.
Chelsea situation.
That's going to be a difference here with them.
And I think, in general, it's a lot easier to say, I'll trust the process with Jurgen Klopp at this point. Dude comes to Dortmund, comes to here. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a very different situation. I mean, at this point, too, I mean, look, Liverpool's 28 points with, a game in hand? I mean, you know how it is. They could put the pedal to the metal and quickly get back in the top four, potentially. With Chelsea, that would be shocking if that happened at current form between those two teams.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think Chelsea have an easy path to finish below the top 10.
But before we pull out Premier League, we have two questions that I think we should hit because our buddy Tony Smith had a good one about Liverpool. Saying with Liverpool clearly struggling, teams like Man City, who despite being high in the standings, are dropping points more frequently now than they have in years, I should say. Is the relentless high press dying? Is it losing, its advantage in the Premier League?
I'm going to say no. It's not dying. What it's doing is high press seemed to be the term of the year last year, right? Or last season. Much like anything, when you do it enough and other teams see that, they're going to change. They're going to change how they play. They're going to adapt to then beat that style. So I think teams are starting to realize, oh, well, this team tried that against them. Well, let's tweak this, let's tweak that, and see if we can beat that press now. Let's also build more off the counter. Press. Let's build more off a triangle it out and then send somebody long over the top. So that's how certain players will have a flash one year. They'll be great, score tons of goals. Well, nobody's seen them before. Nobody knows the style they run, the turning, how they hit the ball, what foot they want the ball on. There's an unknown factor there. And then the next season, you're like, what the hell happened to that player?
That's like Leicester City winning the Premier League on the aggressive counterattack with Jamie Vardy.
Right. It's like, what the hell? Who are these people? And boom, and by the time you figure it out, well, they won the league and it's done. Well, the high press is something that has kind of always been there, but has really been perfected in a way by the Peps and Jurgens and so on and so forth, that teams are just figuring out a little bit more. And when you miss certain pieces of that, it's going to hurt that. It's going to hurt that system of play.
The high press with Liverpool was effective when they had an amazing back line.
Well, true, but who else?
They also had Mane.
You had Mane that could break and really game change and break free of that high press and get that ball with his tenacity. And you knew as a Liverpool backline or a center mid that you could play that ball over the top to the right or the left. Either Salah or Mane is going to be there. You take that away, Diaz is a lovely player, but doesn't have that effect. You take out certain pieces, right? You don't have that defensive coverage, so therefore Trent Alexander-Arnold is getting beat out on the defensive side of the ball more so and doesn't allow him to push forward more. Because he now has to come back and help out a struggling Van Dijk who doesn't have the coverage in front of him. So you miss those pieces. Now, where City, for the most part, are okay is they retool all so often, right? They fit players into that spot, and they keep bringing in players for that spot. And Liverpool were doing that for a bit, are now finding themselves not being able to retool quite as fast or with the same quality that they have been, where City have been doing that, right? So I don't think it's necessarily dying. I think it is becoming much more of a tactical game with the pieces that you have for other managers, and knowing that if you can't play that style, How do we beat it? Let's attack that right side, because we know that if we pin Trent Alexander-Arnold back enough, he's going to make a mistake. And when he makes that mistake, we pounce, we score, then we can hold back. And now they have to come at us, which they haven't done all game. So there's various mind games, there's various tactics, and I just think the league itself and most teams around the world are starting to adapt to having to be attuned to various styles, and especially in the Premier League with those teams that we said, teams are starting to learn, hey, here's the formula with kind of how we break them down.
I think it's also become kind of an arrow in your quiver, so to speak, meaning you're playing a highly attacking team, and in the first half, you kind of look to hit them on the counter. And maybe you nick a goal on the counter right before the half. So then when you come back out, you play the press. And you just get that other team who was expecting you to kind of come back out and
sit back.
And sit back. Now you come out and you punch them in the mouth because you're playing this high press and you nick another goal.
Now you're up
right?
2-0 now. Yep.
So now this is going to become, in my opinion, the high press is going to become a very specific, strategic type of play where you are using that as part of the chess match.
Almost like a full court press in basketball, where you don't use it all the time. You use it at certain times and you apply it to whatever strengths. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
This is a little sports psychology, but is there a weird... a lot of what we've referenced has mostly been Liverpool, but for Man City's point, does the circle of the fear about Man City or the fear become a circle? What I mean by that is that, oh my God, they're so good. And you stay that good for that long, do teams stop being scared and they just start going, well, this is a guaranteed loss. And they start trying and going for more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, where now it's like, well, look, man, we got to go for it. And now it's kind of like Predator, right? Well, if it bleeds, we can kill it. A couple people have made it work. And now everyone's like, you know what? Still, everybody right now has them to win the league at this point. Everyone's too afraid to even say, if they were a 10-point lead right now with Arsenal, they're not going to win the league. I think psychologically, Man City is expected to win and somehow weirdly not as scary anymore. I don't know. It's like if you know you're going down, go out in a blaze of glory. And some of these clubs have and have done very well.
Yeah, I think you have an interesting thought there, because the teams come in knowing that they're going to have a loss. So they try things they wouldn't normally have tried and catch City off guard. I mean, that stranger things have happened. I mean, Newcastle and Everton of all weird teams earlier in the season when Newcastle was not, third in the table, they held their own against City very well because they just went out and tried a bunch of stuff. So I think you might be onto something there. That's an interesting thought. That why not go for broke?
For it. Yeah.
Real
and
quick,
all of a sudden,
before we end Premier League and move on to some other headlines, yes or no? Does Frank Lampard retain the Everton job by February 1st?
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
I'm saying no.
Ooh.
I think there's going to be a lot of trusting of the process this season. And managers that would have been canned are going to make it longer than you thought. I'm not saying they'll make it to the next season.
Okay.
So, real quick, the next 5 Everton matches: Southampton, West Ham.
That's a must win.
Arsenal, Liverpool, Leeds. Those are your 5.
Southampton or Leeds, you have to circle our must wins if you want to start crawling yourself out of the hole that they're in down there in 18th. The other ones you can get whatever, but you got to win against Southampton, who are bottom of the table.
Yeah,
it's kind of not overly rare, but very rare to see them at the very bottom of the table.
West Ham is going to be a tough game. They're going to fight that one out, but you have to figure they're going to.
They're down there in 17, so yeah, that could be a must-win game as well. But I think West Ham over time pull away from the pack a little bit.
Sure.
But we'll see.
But you got to assume that Arsenal and Liverpool are going to beat Everton.
You would assume that Man City would have beat them too, and they drew. So
that's fair.
The game is
and I'll tell
wild.
you-
And for all of those Liverpool fans that were laughing when Brentford beat Man United,
How you like me now?
how yeah, Brentford aren't that easy to play against, are they? So anything can happen in this league, being my main point. And also, don't ever wear your third kit against Brentford. you wear your third kit against them, you're automatic loss.
At your own peril. Is Nottingham going to do it?
They might. Halfway through, lot to play, and they're what?
Man,
They're only a game off of being back down into that bottom zone, so very tight.
be cool to see them do it. Okay, moving on.
The Premier League vortex is a bit sticky these days.
Yeah, well, this Premier League vortex is a fun one. These have been fun conversations. This next stuff just sucks.
Well, before I get into some of that, I'll read the one headline that is not down the U.S. soccer vortex, if you will, of things. A couple of retirements today were announced.
Yeah. Sorry.
Welsh superstar and former Southampton, Tottenham, Real Madrid, and LAFC frontman Gareth Bale announced his retirement from club and national football today at the age of 33. For the club, he for club he netted 185 goals in 553 appearances. And for the nation, he scored 41 times for the Welsh in 111 appearances. He's won 5 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid, has possibly 2 of the best performances in the Champions League. That hat trick when he was playing for Tottenham in the San Siro against Inter Milan, and then that overhead kick against Liverpool in the final in 2018. Probably 2 of the most just special, probably on top list of games and goals scored in the Champions League. And then more importantly, guys, out of everything that he's done, he won the MLS Cup last year with LAFC.
With a big old header at the end of the moment.
Absolutely. So the main question now is, will we see Gareth Bale touring the PGA or more likely the Live tournament soon with his love of golf?
I just hope he's happy, having fun. He comes across as a cool dude. So
He does.
The first man bun at the PGA?
The
Maybe.
PGA man bun.
I don't think he's
love
PGA.
it.
I think it's like he's more of like a have a cigar and
Yeah.
live tour and wear shorts and drive carts and all the things that they can do, which I've never watched it. But anyways, on the other retirement, Hugo Lloris announced his retirement from nation football, so he will no longer be a goalkeeper for France. He'll just stick with the club. And we see players do this throughout their career.
Yeah, Messi did it.
Yeah, when he came back. Yeah, exactly.
And then he came back.
During his Brett Favre period.
Exactly.
Did you? So was it that was speaking of like the trust the process? Is that what Pep said? Like, if the trust give people time, I didn't need time at PSG, or I didn't need time in Barcelona because I had Messi.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then before getting into not before, but kind of a lighter note, before bringing up some NWSL stuff, Kansas City Current pulled off a huge move in NWSL free agency today, signing Dabinia from North Carolina Courage. She's been stellar for them. Kansas City are shaping up to be one hell of an NWSL team this year. And the draft is either tonight. Is either tonight or tomorrow. I thought it was tonight. I'll have to look at that. But the draft for the NWSL. Not so good news. But kind of on the back of what the Yates report came out with today, the NWSL announced kind of their multiple bans and fines to individuals and team following that report and kind of their investigation into that report. You can head over to nwslsoccer.com for their statement and kind of what it all reads. In terms of the bans and fines, we'll just kind of go over those really quickly. You go for what individual actions, or I'm sorry, what individual sanctions were put on folks. Level 1, they kind of classify it on level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 mandates a permanent exclusion from the league, so they can never, ever again be hired in the league, being the NWSL. That is held to Paul Riley, Christy Holly, Rory Dames, and what's his name? Richie Burke. Yeah, Richie Burke. Riley, formerly of the Portland Thorns and Courage. Holly, formerly of Racing Louisville and Gotham FC. Dames, formerly of the Chicago Red Stars. And Burke, formerly over Washington Spirit. All of which I don't think anybody can argue that those gentlemen should be banned permanently from the league due to their actions. It will be said, I think it is, Burke is the only one that was accused of non-sexual misconduct, I believe, but you can look more into that. Level 2 sanctions as part of it, that is that they can still work in the league under conditional basis. So stuff like after a certain time, a lot of these can't work until 2025 after going mandated training, counseling, that sort of thing to kind of get them back. As part of those sanctions, Craig Harrington, formerly of the Utah Royals when they had that club, Elise LaHue, formerly of Gotham City, were banned for 2 years, but they can work again. Finally, level 3 sanction, which we kind of had an eye on because it involved some former Orlando Pride folks. Kind of similar. They can work again under other factors. They don't have to wait till that 2025, but they do have to have certain things that have to check mark in terms of training and acknowledgement, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to butcher some of these names, so I apologize in advance. But James Clarkson, formerly of the Houston Dash, Fareed Bensati, sure, formerly of Orlando Reign, Verapa, formerly of Houston Dash, Amanda Cromwell, formerly of Orlando Pride, along with Sam Green, formerly of Orlando Pride, and Aline Reese, formerly of Orlando Pride, are all on that level 3. So may work again in the league under conditional factors. And then club sanctions. These were fines handed down to various clubs through their actions and taking part of what the investigation reached. Chicago Red Stars were hit pretty good. 1.5 million they were fined. Portland Thorns, 1 million. I think for those were kind of the two main clubs and coaches involved in those cover-ups, not necessarily cover-ups, but environments that did not have a great culture there, we'll say. Racing Louisville, 200,000. North Carolina Courage, 100,000. OL Reign, 50,000. Gotham FC, 50,000. Some of those are lower. I believe it's Racing Louisville. You're like, well, why is that so low? Because ownership changed prior to this, and it was done with the purpose of the league. Certain things like, both Louisville and Courage had systems in place now, and ownership changed prior to this, approved by the league. Teams like Portland Thorns, that ownership, I cannot remember the name right now, but been at the height of it all. Ownership has to change. Certain things back of house have to change. Certain people have to come in and have to, there needs to be a clear distinction between whoever runs the Timbers and the Thorns. And there's all these things that have to be kind of done. Again, you can head over to nwslsoccer.com for a full statement and details on this, as well as The Athletic has a couple of great articles on the details of what all of this kind of entails. So, not necessarily the closure of some sad times in the NWSL, but definitely a proponent and movement of change and trying to get this league in a much better spot.
Definitely a step in a better direction.
Correct.
Also, the NWSL draft is on Thursday, the 12th of January.
Gotcha.
I knew it was sometime this week. I couldn't remember exactly when. Now going over to all of the drama that was last week in U.S. soccer with Greg Berhalter and the Reinas. Well, the U.S. men's team joined the ranks of most major sports in this country. Excuse me. as controversy once again hit the fallout of what I'm calling Geo-Renegate.
Renegade.
Renegade. Exploded following a tweeted statement and admission of Greg Berhalter. You can go to his Twitter account to see all of that, which then led to a statement by U.S. Soccer saying that they'll be conducting an investigation. Again, kind of that statement was upon what Greg said. Greg basically acknowledged that in 1991, there was a kick out at his then girlfriend, now wife of 25 years, in a dispute that kind of led out into the streets, and they're both 19 years of age. And he kind of admits some stuff, says they went to counseling, his wife forgave him, so on and so forth. They are still married to this day. But he also said that during the World Cup, there were folks that called U.S. Soccer with information to try to take him down at his job. Well, about a day or so later,
Turns out,
there was, and who other than Gio Reina's mom, Danielle Reina, who herself had to release a statement about her involvement in this matter, and then that was backed up by her husband and legend of U.S. Soccer, Claudio Reina, about how he backed his wife, and at no point was there any physical blackmail, anything like that was had. But they both voiced their opinions to what is his name, Stewart of U.S. Soccer,
like Ernest,
yeah. I just completely blanked on the name.
Anyway, they told their friend, who is an official in U.S. Soccer.
Yep.
But they told him kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge style.
Called him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And basically said, we're worried about this, knowing that in this day and age,
Ernie Stewart, yeah.
It's going to trigger an all-out investigation. So
well, and didn't his dad end up saying, too, that he said something to the effect of, like, I'm just surprised he's so hard on my son, considering, like, he was forgiven for what he did when he was younger. People are like, what do you mean? Oh, you didn't know? Like,
yeah.
So
that kind of crap. Like,
real quick, I do kind of want to read Danielle Reina's statement, as I think that's kind of an interesting one, and we don't want to mince words there. She said, I have known Ernie for years, and considering him a close friend, I wanted to let him know that I was absolutely outraged and devastated that Gio had been put in such a terrible position, and that I felt very personally betrayed by the actions of someone my family had considered a friend for decades. Little cliff note here: Berhalter's and Reina's family friends for years and years and years, going back.
They were best men at each other's weddings and things like that.
Daniel Reina and Berhalter's wife were in college together, roomed together when they played for North Carolina. So family friends for years and years and years. As part of the conversation, I told Ernie that I thought it was especially unfair that Gio, who had apologized for acting immaturely about his playing time, was still being dragged through the mud when Greg had asked for more and received forgiveness for doing something so much worse at the same age. Kind of, again, I'll go through a timeline here of how we got to here, but that was the whole...
that was the wink, wink, nudge, nudge style of telling on...
Well, yes, but that was regarding the whole Greg Berhalter after the World Cup going to a conference and kind of sharing a story that everybody knew was about Gio, and Greg later kind of walked that back and said, I shouldn't have done that, and yada, yada. Anyways, Danielle Reina goes on to say, without going into detail, the statements from yesterday significantly minimize the abuse on the night of question. Rosalind Berhalter was my roommate, teammate, and best friend. I supported her through the trauma that followed. It took a long time for me to forgive and accept Greg afterward, but I worked hard to give him grace and ultimately made both of them and their kids a huge part of my family's life. I would have wanted and expected him to give the same grace to Gio. This is why the current situation is so very hurtful and hard. She went on to say, at the time I called Ernie, many people were trashing Gio on social media due to Greg's comments, and I didn't know when or if this would stop. I just wanted Ernie to help make sure that there would be no further unwarranted attacks on my son. I thought our conversation would remain in confidence, and it didn't occur to me at the time that anything I said could lead to an investigation. I'm not criticizing Ernie here. I very much commend the recent efforts by U.S. Soccer to address abuse of women players, and I understand now he had an obligation to investigate what I shared. But I want to be very clear that I did not ask Greg to be fired. I did not make any threats, and I did not know anything about any blackmail attempts, nor have I ever had any discussions about anyone else on Greg's staff. I don't know of any other coaches, or I don't know any of the other coaches. I did not communicate with anyone in U.S. Soccer about this matter before December 11th. So apparently December 11th was the call date that the Renas had made to Arnie Stewart of U.S. Soccer. And no one else in my family has made any statements to U.S. Soccer regarding Greg's past at all. I'm sorry for this information to become public, and I regret that I played a role in something that could reopen wounds from the past. Gio's father, he kind of made a shorter statement, which basically said, I support my wife Danielle in her statement. I too was upset by Greg's comments about Gio after the U.S. was out of the World Cup, and I also appealed to Ernie Stewart on December 11th, asking him to prevent any additional comments. While in Qatar, I shared my frustration about my son's World Cup experience with a number of close friends, Ernie and Brian McBride among them. Both of them are execs now within U.S. Soccer. Brian McBride used to play for U.S. and in Fulham and a bunch of other teams years ago. However, at no time did I ever threaten anyone, nor would I ever do so.
What a bunch of entitled. This is why we'll never win a World Cup. Because in America, do you know what the problem all this highlights is? The pay to play in U.S. Soccer.
This reeks of like little
so
league
much
parent
money
who thinks
yes.
that his son or daughter don't stink.
I'm not discounting abuse or anything like that. None of that.
Right.
But you had those. You come forth with those problems sooner than. You don't come to them when your son's not getting play time. You know what would have fixed this? Your son had a better attitude, showed up to play. Right.
Or if you're good family friends, do this. Do this wild thing.
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the goddamn phone and call them. And be like, hey, can we have a discussion? Or hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Can we go out for a drink? Can we go out for a cigar and just talk about how my son was treated, what your thought process is? I want to understand. I don't want to make it public.
Also, you should you should listen to Robbie Earl and Musto talk about this in Two Robbies. It killed because they're like this in England. You would never have no parent would be like that. Coach doesn't. You don't get to do that. But here he goes. When we first came to the States to study we're trying to promote the game. When they encountered pay to play soccer and how parents were with coaches and could get in their faces and demand things or this or my little Timmy's not playing. He was like, it was insane to me. And then here it is. From the very beginning of entering U.S. Soccer to how it is now. We'll never, ever, 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 ever win a World Cup because of this crap. Because the other side of pay to play means some of the best athletes never get to hit the pitch and actually play.
Right, because they can't afford it.
Or they don't have the clout that the Renas or Berhalters have in this game.
Like, just listen to his comment. I mean, I just was hanging out with my friends who are now executives at U.S. Soccer, going or her saying, I spoke to him in confidence. Well, that's exactly what Greg did
and
when he talked to those.
He's a Sporting KC, executive, and you can't tell me you can understand the parents wanting to stick up for their son, right? That's I'm not a parent myself. I have seen it on teams that I have been with other parents and them voicing their things. Thankfully, mine did not go about it in that way, but I don't fully understand that. But what I do understand is the common sense of knowing you really didn't think this would get out or that they would investigate what you're saying. You really didn't think that conversation of you calling up a U.S. Soccer official would have any repercussions at all? You thought that this would remain secret between you three?
If I had my druthers,
naive and entitled as all if that's what you thought was going to happen.
No, they did it on purpose. They
100% they did. 100% they did.
No, and here, you know what I want U.S. Soccer to do? Get rid of Gio get rid of the parents, get rid of Greg Berhalter, and say, sorry if any of you are actually good to get caught up in this. Don't want to deal with it. Whoosh. Done. Like any other good company, or I'm going to get rid of Aubameyang because he's a pain in the ass. Same thing. I don't care. We'll eat it for a little bit, but whatever. You get rid of all that, and you start the hell over with this situation because there's no need for this to carry on. I wouldn't give Gio the time of day on a U.S. men's national team. Is that fair? No, but you know what, bud? Like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's
blame
tough.
your parents.
It's
because
you
also,
have
I
to
don't
remember
think he's that good.
Right. You have to remember
he's not.
He's an adult, but he's 19 years old. These are all 40-year-olds doing this. We thought it was done, right? Greg makes a statement at this conference everyone knows, which then spawns Gio to make a statement on Instagram. You thought it's done, right? Greg comes out a few weeks later. Hey, I shouldn't have done that. That's kind of, I shouldn't, so on and so forth. I don't know the exact words. I'm kind of paraphrasing now. But to come to find this out, what are you thinking as Gio Reyna? You come to your mom like, Mom, Dad, what the hell are you doing? You just sabotaged our name. You sabotaged.
Who wants to touch him as a manager right now?
Stay out of it. I'm a grown man at this point.
But not only for his international career.
Let me deal with it.
Not only for his international career, but also club level, right?
Yeah.
If the parents are going to be a giant pain the entire time, you may decide, I don't want to deal with it.
You may. He hasn't had any problems at Dortmund, and by all accounts, it's been great there. And
they have no
Hulling has been said he's one of the best players and friends he's ever blah 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 blah. So, but again, nobody's absolved of anything here, right? Greg's not absolved of the abuse on his now wife years ago, which is wrong. Glad that he's reformed now. However, he said it in his statement. He's not absolved of the way he handled the Gio thing before or during or after the World Cup. U.S. Soccer's not absolved here to allow for this type of thing to occur. Yes, they've hired a law firm to investigate this whole thing. Who the hell knows what will come out of it or what decision they'll make. And the Reynas, whether it's Claudio, Danielle, or Gio, nobody's absolved of this, and it makes us look like a complete mess. Like we don't know what the hell we're doing at the highest level of the game.
We are a mess.
Okay. We are, because I think lawyers are going to say, well, I can't say this, in our public, but I'll tell you right now, you guys are idiots for involving all these families in this stuff. Like this is what happens. This shouldn't be what happens.
Well,
and also not for nothing, but like, if you're that concerned, say something when he's named head coach. I bet you could have probably prevented that with your connections.
Well,
I don't know.
And they didn't. There's links in some of the articles on ESPN and the Athletic that date back till 2018 when he was named, and Danielle giving him a glowing review of becoming the head coach of the U.S. men's and the national team.
Because one has nothing to do with the other. That's the other problem. She explains it. And I don't see that's fair. Like, but that's like, you're apples to oranges right now.
No, but you said it. Entitlement.
Yeah.
When they didn't get their way, when Gio didn't get his way, the entitlement there stunk. And they thought that they were deserved of something there. So when it didn't go their way, well, now we're going to complain and we're going to try to do something about it. Well, you didn't say that in 2018. You picked and chose the time now. Yes, circumstances occurred, and how you reacted worsened all of this. How they reacted.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that they thought that they were going to come out kind of on the higher side of this road.
They look worse.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I think when they did this, it was a calculated move that they thought was going to blemish Berhalter and kind of get them whatever, quote, their way would have been. But it didn't turn out that way. It turned out that they looked like a bunch of entitled idiots.
Yeah.
Now I want the third Knives Out movie to be about a bunch of rich soccer families.
Right. Well, and amongst all of this, of course, it's like an English tabloid. Well, now who's linked with the job? Oh, Zinedine Zidane. Let's try to go after him. Are you nuts?
Well,
there's no way he would come and be a head coach of U.S. soccer.
But
He's already turned it down.
You have done irreparable damage to who are you going to get now? The only people you're going to get, are you going to snag some world-class coach like that? No, you're not. You're going to get someone who hopefully, you'll probably find people that care about
which is a shame because we have some of the best talent that we've had in years.
Yeah.
And for the January camp coming up here, Anthony Hudson, who was on an assistant under Greg's, has been named the interim. Obviously, his qualifications probably don't put him in line for a full-time job. But who are you going to get? Who's going to be wild enough to come? You're good for you for shooting your shot and going, Zidane, will you come?
Hey, look, I've said it before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say. If you want someone to come in and torch it all, bring in some Jose Mourinho from Italy.
Well, his name was on the list.
Let him stay in the States raw. And he just goes, I want to deal with this.
Well, and America, you thought you saw some boring ball with Greg. You're going to see a hell of a lot more boring ball if Jose comes in.
If he can get us further in the World Cup, I'll shake that bastard's hand.
He wins wherever he goes.
Yeah, woof, woof, woof. Sorry, I was more angry about that than I think I realized. It's so entitled.
It just bleeds American sports.
Makes us look a bunch of idiots.
And how we essentially value money over everything.
Yeah.
So this pay to play, and which the last election for U.S. soccer, all those people like Hope Solo and Julie Foudy and all these people,
Eric Winalda,
ran on a platform of we have to get rid of the pay to play because this isn't fair, and the people with the money voted it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they look pretty prescient now, don't they? There you go, bud.
But they look, in my opinion, the general public doesn't understand how U.S. soccer works, and so ignorance is bliss, and they're just going to wait for something to get outraged about. They're not actually going to try and fix the problem from putting media pressure on U.S. soccer.
I just love the comments online. People are like, who, like you said, don't know, and they're like, well, we mean get rid of pay to play. Then how are they going to do it if there's no money?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, what's Morocco's GDP to ours? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Come on, guys.
Or Iceland.
Could do this.
Right. Look at all the things Iceland has done to enrich their international soccer program, and they are in a country that is the size of New York State. So
we need to get our crap together before we host this thing in 4 years.
Oh, we're not going to have anything together.
No.
Can we all have another beer as we calm down and then play the game?
You guys are drinking the same, so I'll tell you what I'm having here. This is the 10W40 from Highwire. I'm going all Asheville today. This is the gingerbread hot cocoa. It is typically they make their 10W40s with coffee, but this is an imperial style brew with cocoa powder, ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, clove, vanilla, and lactose.
Yum.
It sounds delicious. It's about to happen, so I can play some What the What.
So we're not actually having the same thing. We're having a different beer.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I apologize.
It's all
saw
good.
the can. I thought it was the same art.
Nope. This one is also from a Canadian brewery we've had on the pod before, Collective Arts, from Ontario. Andrew and Stacy, the owners of this brewery, are phenomenal people, and they have a very adventurous brewery. Kind of remind me of Dogfish Head when they were trying all the banana nut raisin beer, and just this one we're going to have is the Stranger Than Coffee and Maple Syrup Porter at 5.5 ABV. This porter is, quite honestly, the reviews on it are wicked good.
Ooh, I can't wait.
And one review from Untapped just says nom 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 nom.
I mean, it sounds like a pretty Canadian beer.
So we're going to give it a try. The can art is pretty crazy. It's like a tannish pink can with kind of a bushman.
A
on it.
one-eyed green maple bush monster.
There you
Purple
go.
people eater?
Something like that.
Oh, this smells so good.
Last.
What was your ABV on that one?
5.5, I think.
Yeah, the good old 5.5.
Oh, this has got the engine oil rolling.
I can't wait to try
Mine
this
is
one.
8%, so this is a nightcap for sure.
Oh, yeah. This is this is
Ooh, look at this
a
bad
porter's
boy.
a good way to end, too.
This is just motor oil black. Cheers.
Cheers,
to
gents.
better U.S. soccer.
Up to the nose.
Better people in U.S. soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy porter, that's good.
Bing.
Mm.
There's the maple.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's,
There it is.
Man, that is good.
This
so
one
this has...
Wow.
has a very thin, kind of clean mouthfeel to it. And it hits you with kind of a bitterness up front that then turns into maple syrup. And it is
Ooh, Nally.
quite good. The coffee
This is-
kind of lingers through the end. But man, what a good beer.
This is definitely... you can taste the cocoa powder, but because it's the cocoa powder, not like chocolate,
Sure.
it's not too overpowering. The ginger and nutmeg and allspice and clove, those are really prominent. I mean, it tastes kind of... I mean, it smells like Christmas potpourri almost.
That's awesome.
All right, Ferris, I'm ready to win.
All right, do I have any entry music into this?
That's all I got. What do you
I thought it
got,
was somebody
Ron? You got anything
else's.
better?
No, that was yours.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, that was a little rude.
I'll have to compose some.
Yeah, I felt like the FA Cup needs a different.
I did have sound effects ready for you.
Oh, did
but,
you?
But you're too busy complaining
I'm
about
sorry.
yours. I may not give them to you.
You know what? It was the whole entitlement of talking U.S. soccer. I just felt like I had to, and,
I deserve sound effects.
and embody that for a second. Well, thank you for the sound effect. I apologize, gentlemen.
No, Ron's got sound effects for you, he said.
Maybe.
Okay.
If he's not an entitled asshole about it.
For round 4, we're going to play What the What? It's the FA Cup. Thank you. I'm your host, Glenn Michael Ferris III. No, not the third, but regardless,
Esquire.
Esquire the 7th. All right. FA Cup is all of football in all of England, right? How the game is and what the leagues are. Football Association is made up of multiple leagues. What primarily we're going to cover is the Premier League, which is the top league, the Championship, then League One, League Two, and the National League. There's 20 teams in the Premier League, as we know, and 24 teams in the Championship, 24 teams in League One, League Two, and National League apiece. All right. So, how the game's going to be played. For those of you that have not heard this game before, but as a reminder to the competitors here, Blake and Ron, I will read out the teams and the scoreline. I will then ask, what league do you think what team is in? I will then ask what the difference in the number of league places between the two teams is. Closest to the number gets the point. So, maximum, there's 2 points that you can gather. There's a bonus at the very end. All points will be double.
Ooh.
Gentlemen, are you ready for the FA Cup?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, first up, Gillingham took on Leicester City.
Gillingham.
Gillingham.
All right.
Leicester City won 1-0. Barely, I might add. As we know, Leicester in the Premier League. But gentlemen, what league is Gillingham in?
Gillingham is in League 2.
Ooh, let's see. Gillingham. I'm going to go League 1.
Blake gets the point. They are, in fact, in League 2.
They almost had a National League kind of name, but I thought, nah, it's probably League 2.
And currently, I can't remember.
Gillingham.
Did I tell you what place they were in the league? I did not. Okay, so how many places between Leicester and Gillingham is there?
Hold on, let's see. Where's Leicester sitting at right now?
I said Leicester's in. Okay,
okay.
I did tell you that.
Well, we would
Leicester
know that.
is
Yeah,
currently sitting in 13th place.
Wait, so it's
Blake.
I'm trying to do my math.
Take off your socks.
67.
Okay, Ron.
7 spaces between the two.
I'm
Okay.
going to say 72.
The Sausage King gets the point. It is actually 80 places.
Oh.
As Gillingham are in 24th place. They are in last place in League 2. They could be relegated to the National League by the end of season if they don't get their act together. So we are tied up at 1 apiece in the first round. Tottenham Hotspur took on Portsmouth. Used to be a Premier League matchup, no longer. Tottenham, of course, are in the Premier League. They're currently in 5th. What league are Portsmouth currently in, gentlemen? Ron, you go first.
Portsmouth, they are in League 1.
Blake?
League 1. I'm pretty confident of that one.
You both are correct. They are in League 1, so no points. But how many
Didn't
places?
Michael Eisner,
I'm sorry?
This like Michael Eisner bought into this club, the old Disney CEO, right? Do you know that?
I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember that.
That's the only reason
I do remember that.
this.
Yep. The difference in the number of league places between Tottenham in 5th and Portsmouth in League 1 is, Ron?
$44.
But we're gonna say 52.
Blake almost hit it head on.
Oh,
53 places between the two. Well done, Blake. So Blake leads after round 2. It's 2-1 to Blake. All right. Blackpool used to be in the Premier League as well. Took on Nottingham Forest. And guess what, boys? Blackpool trounced them 4-1.
crazy, right?
Yeah. Nottingham Forest, as we know, are in the Premier League. They were last for a long time, but they're currently in 15th. What league is Blackpool in currently?
Their championship.
Ron?
League 2.
They are, in fact, in the championship.
Blake is kicking my nuts today.
So far. How many places between Nottingham in 15th and the championship are Blackpool?
Let's say 17.
Oh, I was going to say 15.
Sorry, I just lost my... I believe it is... I'm sorry. What was your guess again, Blake?
17?
17, you were
15.
15. Blake is technically closest at 28 places.
Oh,
As Blackpool are currently in 22nd of that particular league. So they're not out of it yet, but they are currently in the relegation zone for that league. So Blake gets another point and currently leads 4-1 in this matchup. All right, 1, 2, 3, 5 more to go, and then the bonus round. We'll kind of speed things up a little bit. Boringhamwood And Accrington Stanley played out to a 1-1 draw. Fun game. I watched the second half of this in a wee little pitch in stadium. I will give you one league. Guess what the other one is? Accrington Stanley are in League One. What league is Boringhamwood in?
Boringhamwood? Spell it?
Borehamwood.
Borehamwood. Okay.
Borehamwood,
Okay. Yeah. I see what you. Yeah.
Borehamwood.
So League One is Aston Martin. What did you say it was called?
Aston Martin.
True. Accrington Stanley.
Yeah, exactly that one. I went to school with that guy.
Sure you did.
I'm gonna say they're in National League. We haven't had one of those yet.
Okay, Ron.
League One.
Blake. National League. My man.
Man, he's in Tennessee with all this stuff just written up.
Oh yeah.
Just reading
the
it.
questions earlier.
Whiteboard of all of the leagues and the teams up right behind him that we can't see right now.
It's like one of those what is it when the detectives have red string all over everything. He's got a giant FA Cup wall.
He's been waiting the whole year for this and just looked at the lineup and I'm going to win this.
Studio to get out of my office. That's what the whole.
He's never done this well at the FA Cup.
I don't think he has either. All right, so Borehamwood are in National League. Accrington Stanley are in League One. How many league places are there between the two?
Sorry, say that again.
What's the difference in the number of league places from Borehamwood being in the National League and Accrington Stanley being in League One? Come on, Mr. Detective Blake.
I'm going to go with 53.
45.
Ooh, Ron won. 41 places.
Oh.
You were closest. It's not closest with going over, by the way, just
Yeah,
closest in general.
Yeah.
All right, so the score is
4-2.
What if we split it with one below and one over?
I think it's 5-2 because he won the last one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 5-2. I'm trying to. I got to switch to my checks.
Oh man,
typing it.
Do I smell collusion?
No, I'm pretty sure it's. Check the tape. All right, next up.
Well, if we had tape, I might check it. But since this is a digital medium,
probably one of the funnest matches and almost the biggest upset of the Saturday at least. Chesterfield took on West Brom. 3-3 what they played to with a couple of late goals there. I believe by Chesterfield. Fun match. West Brom are currently in the championship. What league are Chesterfield in?
Chesterfield, eh?
Yay!
Chesterfield, eh? Yeah. I'm going to go League 2, Chesterfield, eh? League 2, Chesterfield, eh?
Ron?
League One.
You both are wrong. They're in the National League, old Chesterfield is.
I didn't think we'd have a second one.
Yeah, so how many league places or what's the difference between Chesterfield being in the National League and West Brom being in the championship?
Let's say. Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? 76.
85.
Blake gets the point. It's 67 places between the two. So not our highest. Our highest so far, and I believe is the highest, is Leicester and Gillingham at 80 places. 67 is a good number, though. All right. Sheffield Wednesday and Newcastle. And guess what? Sheffield Wednesday won.
Crazy, right?
On a Saturday. Unbelievable. It's the weirdest thing I've ever saw. 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday. Newcastle, as we know, are currently third in the Premier League. What league are Sheffield Wednesday currently in?
I think they're championship.
Okay.
I'm going to say League 2.
Oh, neither of you are right. They're in League One.
They're League One.
Newcastle in third. Sheffield in League One. How many or what is the difference in the number of league places between the two?
So, say that again. Sheffield's in League One.
And Newcastle are in the Premier League in third.
Right, in Premier League. Okay, so Sheffield League One. 2. Let's say. Let's say Let's say 50.
Oh,
57.
Love his albums. Ron.
Love his albums. What a stretch. I'm going to say 56.
Blake is technically closest with 44 league places, commanding 7-2 lead right now for Blake.
I don't believe it. I'm pulling a card from Donald Trump's political campaign, and I'm saying if Blake beats me, it's because he cheated.
Fair,
Sure.
he doesn't have his login to his Google Doc.
And then he just, Aston Villa, 1. Stevenage. Good old Stevenage. 2. Upset of the round.
Right?
Wow. Villa, as you know, are in the Premier League, currently in 11th. What league are Stevenage in?
Are Villa in the Premier League this year?
Sure.
Sorry, Matt, that was for you. That was for you, Matt. Stevenage. Let's say, how embarrassing is this for Mr. Call? Let's say League 2.
Ron?
That's where I was headed.
You both got it right. They are in League 2. The difference in the league places between a team that may or may not be in the Premier League and Aston Villa and Stevenage. Not Gregage, not Davidage, Stevenage.
89.
68.
Ron's close is 60 places.
Wow,
You would have thought it'd be more. Now, here's the thing. Stevenage are currently second in League 2. So they're at the top of the table. So
good old Stevenage. Good old Stevenage. About to be in the championship.
all right. Today's game. Oxford United 0, Arsenal 3. Arsenal, as we know, are first in the Premier League. What league are Oxford United in?
Boom, boom, boom. I feel like that's League 1.
Ron?
League 2.
Blake gets the point. League 1 it is.
I'm telling you, he is.
Hands in my pockets.
It's the flannel.
It's the posters. Yeah, see, I'm in my it's chilly outside.
Yep.
Lumbersexual flannel.
Yes, you are. Difference in number of league places between the two.
Wait, what league did they say we were in? League 1?
League 1 for Oxford United, and then Arsenal are top of the Premier League.
Right.
So let's go 53.
Ron?
48.
Blake, it's the point. 59 league places.
It's a bunch of
between the two.
Love the Oxford crest, by the way. It looks like something would be like an old NBA kit or old jersey, but the little bull on there is great. Yeah.
All right. Bonus round. Double, but even double, that's not going to win you anything, Ron. So we'll do it this way. We're going to change the rules. Blake, how many points do you want to bet on this round? You have 9. You want to bet on all of them?
Oh, whoa. We're doing Jeopardy rules?
Sure.
Here? On the fly. Jeez. See, I've done well. Now I'm scared to bet too much. Let's bet. How many points has Ron got?
3.
I'll bet 3. I'll bet
Okay.
Ron's.
Okay. Ron? You're going to...
I just bet them all.
Yeah, why not?
I can't win anyway.
All right. Coventry City, 3. Wrexham! Damn near killed him. Ryan Reynolds and McElhaney's Wrexham United, 4. 4-3. What a game was on ESPN Plus, the 12:30 game, or one of them. What a awesome game.
Yep.
If those guys hadn't thought their pursuit of this was magical, they just witnessed the magic of the FA Cup.
A third round proper tie that they won. Now, to shame, when I go through where the draws of the FA Cup, they did not get drawn against an Arsenal or United or
which sucks for them.
Sucks. Yeah, nice payday out and just wow, what fun that would be. But I will give you Wrexham's league as we've seen it on the show and whatnot. They are in the National League. What league are Coventry City in, though?
Coventry. I think that's League. I think it's League 1, Coventry. No? Yeah, League 1, Coventry. Let's go there.
League 2.
Gentlemen, they are actually in the Championship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Big win. Big win. What's the league places between Wrexham in the National League and Coventry City in the Championship?
Jeez, that's huge. Let's say
I'm going first with 85.
Okay.
50s. You went 85? 79.
You both are nowhere near it. It's actually 61 places only because Wrexham are in second in the National League and Coventry City are in 14th, so about middle of the pack. So technically Blake wins. He was always going to win. Yeah.
If Wrexham gets promoted,
Which they will get promoted to League Two.
Right.
Hey, look at FA. They might win the match, baby.
Okay.
They still might get a draw against an Arsenal or somebody.
Okay. Blake wins 14-3. Give him a round of applause. Go on. Well done, Blake.
Oh, sorry. That was the wrong one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know what? I forgot I had a sound effect for Ferris.
Get out! Get out!
Come on.
Sorry, I was looking for sound effects. It was the only one I could find
Really?
real quick.
How you can do that to the host? You automatically lose.
Yes.
Ron wins.
You know what I got to say about that?
I don't know.
it didn't work.
You have to play the
Hold on.
sound effect.
Oh, I do have to play this.
The production level on this pod is great.
It's such a good production level.
Holy cookie puss. You're god right. All right, the fourth round draw. As we said, it's a shame that Wrexham don't get a Premier League team. A lot of Premier League teams are actually knocked out this round, but they do get Sheffield United in the Championship, and Sheffield United is up there in the top of not the very top of the Championship, but they're up there in the top.
Billy
3 or
Sharp.
4. Billy Sharp, baby, love them. The other draw is actually Manchester City versus Arsenal in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Manchester United and Reading, Preston North End against Tottenham, Southampton versus Blackpool, Brighton versus either Liverpool or Wolves, as that was a draw 1-1 or 2-2 maybe.
It's very convenient that most of the Premier League teams are getting Premier League teams in the draw.
It helps. So there is still replays in this round. So they have to play a replay out at, I believe, Anfield. See for that one. Fulham gets Sunderland, former Premier League matchup of old. Bournemouth or Accrington Stanley will take on either Cardiff or Leeds. Both of those opponents have to still play a replay round. Ipswich Town versus Burnley, and Luton or either Wigan will have to play a replay, and they'll take on Grimsby Town. Derby County will take on West Ham United, again a former Premier League type match. Stoke City will either take on Aston Villa or Stevenage. Birmingham City will either take on Blackburn or Forest Green. It's a fun name of a team, Forest Green.
Sounds like a Crayola color.
Not burnt yellow or
Burnt umber.
ruby
Burnt
red.
umber.
Forest Green.
Sienna.
Walsall takes on Leicester City. That should be a nice, fun match. I don't remember where Walsall's at, but they are down there.
Whenever we do these FA Cup talks, I just imagine our buddy Lee is just like, they're saying
butchering
all
us
these
for the
names
name.
wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Saying all
Butchering
these
us. I'm
names
sorry.
wrong.
And all of
these
our
towns.
bad jokes about Sheffield Wednesday won on a Saturday. Yeah. Sheffield Wednesday takes on Fleetwood Town, and then finally Bristol
love
City
Fleetwood Mac.
or Swansea will either take on Chesterfield or West Brom. What's your fourth
Should they
round?
played Fleetwood Mac?
I'm sorry?
Should they play Fleetwood Mac?
Fleetwood Town.
Fleetwood Town. Okay. I was like, wait, what?
What's the main Bobby Nicks or something Nicks?
Oh,
Stevie?
Stevie Nicks.
Stevie
isn't that-
Nicks. Bobby Nicks. Good old Bobby Nicks.
Sounds like. I don't know.
Oh, it's great.
That sounds like the name of the man who invented the phrase pot of neck bone.
That's true.
Bobby Nicks is his old barbecue joint. Thrown like a pot of neck bone. I always love me some good the FA Cup.
And that concludes What the what? It's the FA Cup. Numero 4.
Look forward to it every year. Delightful.
So fun. Even though Blake cheated horribly.
I didn't
He
cheat,
whooped your
man.
butt
I
this
didn't
time.
cheat. I
He
was,
did. Congratulations. I'm only jesting that you cheated.
I
Well,
think,
Kind of.
He does support Arsenal, so I mean, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Here we go. See, he's going to try to get me back for that little sound bit from the Aston Villa game.
Hey,
Or not Villa.
you opened the door
Real
to
game. It's fair enough. I did. All right. Well, folks, it's been a pleasure as always. Give us, follow, go to the website on brewtifulgame.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, especially Untapped when we put up all these beers. I just sent you guys some pictures for the beers. Trying to step my picture game up since Ron ragged on me a couple episodes ago. So
Oh, look at that.
yeah.
Look at that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Did you
like
take
them apples?
Did you pre-take these?
I know the high wire one looks fancy. The little
I
fireplace in the background.
absolutely pre-took these.
Who
You
did?
There's no
son
good.
of a-
There's no good. He just did another bleep sheet on you, Ron.
Yeah, I know.
There's no good I don't have a picture thing set up in here yet. So yes, that's elsewhere in my house.
And is the other one by your stove?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
Like
I was
that, on the chopping block. All the cooking stuff in the
It
background.
looks
I was
good.
trying to get the Christmas wreath in the background.
I get
Yeah.
you. I get you.
Quite nice. Well done.
Follow us on Untapped. You'll see all those pictures I'm trying to work on and make my beer pictures better. Because Ron always is like, I didn't really have anything in this hotel I was in China, so I scraped together this 4,000-year-old statue of Buddha and a couple other cool stuff and stacked them in a cool way. I'm like, oh my god, that looks amazing. Give us what did I just say to you? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or however you listen to us. Let us know you did. Send us a direct message somehow, whether brewtifulgame@gmail.com or through one of our aforementioned social media handles. We'll get a koozie or something out to you, maybe a magnet. And then we're breaking a little tradition. I believe Ferris has a dad joke, correct?
I do. So, gents, a bit of a sad story.
Wow, we're just man, it's such a different day.
I know.
Wow, he's even going in and giving like the backstory.
So, I have a friend that has a stutter and just went to jail. I'm afraid he won't finish his sentence.
I love you're the only one that's allowed to tell that joke on this show.
I know, but these two guys I follow on Instagram, I apologize. I have to get their names. They crack me up. They just sit in lawn chairs, go back and forth. And I flipping through Instagram and they just popped up and you know how those reels automatically play? They told that joke. I was on the floor laughing. I was crying. I had tears rolling down. I was like, that's good. And they say it with straight, like they don't laugh. They straight faces.
No.
Oh,
They're truly
Beautiful.
dad joking it, just sitting on that dock. Ferris, may I do a Zlatan quote?
absolutely.
Sorry, and doing it in reverse order. I know we're throwing this whole episode off. In response to Karu's suggestion that Ibrahimovic flicks and tricks were pointless while playing the game of football, Zlatan said, "What Karu does with a football, I can do with an orange."
Fair point. That's
I love this
impressive.
guy.
Do that with an orange. It's a small little ball.
Delightful. Well, gents, Happy New Year. Happy
New Year.
holidays.
Happy New Year. Thanks for the awesome signs of our stadiums.
Yes,
Heck
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The Brewtiful Game.